everybody. Of course, go figure. The one day that I want to do this outside because the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, there's a breeze blowing. Neighbors on both sides of me have let their dogs out. It's trash morning, so the trash trucks are going by. The breeze is picked up, so now it's windy, but it's still a gorgeous day outside. So I'm going to let everyone have another minute or so to log on, and we will get our program started. Hope everyone's doing okay out there, washing those hands, keeping your distance from other people, staying safe. We want to get through this. While I love doing these live programs, I really would rather have a bunch of you sitting in person in front of me so I could teach this to you, because I'm more of a people person in person than a Facebook celebrity. What do you know? Whoever would have guessed that I would be a Facebook celebrity? I know. Hi, Chaos. Glad you could join us this morning. I was just saying how it was nice and quiet when I decided to do this event outside, and now the wind has picked up, so the wind chimes are even louder. Both neighbors have let their dogs out, and the trash trucks are going by. So go figure, right? But that's okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me over all the background noises. Even trying to be in a corner of my patio where there's not too much breeze, so I don't look like I'm in a hurricane with all the hair going everywhere. All right, give everyone a few more seconds to join us. I know there's a lot of options that people can do right now online, a lot of places that you can do free things. A lot of other councils are doing Facebook events and everything. So I really appreciate you guys taking your time out from today and choosing us to join us today. Dogs are out too, barking at an airplane. Exactly. Yeah, I didn't even bring mine out because between 3 German Shepherd mixes, all you'd hear is them. I think people think they're always fighting, but they're not. They just love to wrestle each other, which of course then they start growling and barking at each other, and they sound really fierce, but not when they're playing with each other. All right. We got a few people signed on here. So my name is Rink Summerday, and I am the STEM director for the Girl Scouts of the Desert Southwest. And STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And today we're outside because it's springtime here in southern New Mexico. And it just is that time of year where you want to get your hands in the dirt and you want to plant things and you want to watch stuff grow, and the birds are chirping and they're building their nests and flowers are blooming. Though I have some friends in Wisconsin and they still have snow on the ground. So depending on what part of the country you're in, you may not be quite ready for planting the garden, but we'll see. But today I would like to read you one of my favorite books when I was a kid. It's called Eric's Garden. And it is all about this poor boy who lives in the city, who lives in an apartment building, and, planting a garden's not an option. To show you how old this book is, 1971. My grandma Stella gave me this book back in 1971. So this book, I take the paper cover off of it when I read because I don't want it to get ripped any more than it is. So we're going to put that off to the side because, otherwise it's just a plain green book. Okay. All right, so Eric's garden. Eric wanted a garden. He wanted a garden of his very own. All day he sat on a stool staring out the window at the gray rooftops of many apartment buildings like his own, wishing with all his might. So you can see all these big apartment buildings. So he lives in a big city like maybe New York City or even like San Antonio, maybe even El Paso. But Eric, his mother said, "Can't you see? This is no place for a garden in the city." Eric could see, but that didn't change his wanting. Last summer, visiting in the country, he had helped his grandfather dig straight rows in the warm brown earth and drop seeds into the soil. Green plants had soon come pushing up. Yellow squash, tall corn, plump watermelons all grew from little green seeds. little green plants. You see, Grandfather had said, every seed is important. It helps feed the world. Often Eric walked to the supermarket with his mother, and he used to push the grocery cart for her up and down the rows. Anybody out there help there when you guys go grocery shopping, you push the cart? Yeah. I know. I used to love to ride in the cart until I got too big. My mom's like, no, now you push the cart. And then it was my job to take the cart back after we got done at the car. But now, Eric spent his time in front of the revolving garden seed rack, reading the pictures and wishing. One day, his hands were jammed deep into his pockets, and he was wishing harder than ever. I wish I had a garden. I wish I had some seed. I wish I had just one little seed. And he frowned hard at his shoes. And all at once, there it was, a seed, a tiny round seed. It lay on the floor beneath the rack. It must have fallen from one of the packages, Eric thought. Eric hurried to pick up the seed. It was brown and no bigger than one of the freckles. He ran to show his mother. What kind is it? She asked. I don't know, he said, and he told her how he found it. May I keep it and plant it? His mother laughed. Yes, I guess even in the city we can find room for one little seed. So you can see that's a very tiny little seed in his hand. When they got home, Eric's mother gave him an empty milk carton with shiny wax sides. Kind of shows how old this book really is, right? Well, we can get some milk in milk cartons these days. For a while, everything came in plastic jugs. Eric took it to the park, and his friend the gardener filled it with dirt. Then, with a spoon, Eric dug a small hole in the soil in the milk carton. He planted the seed the way Grandfather had shown him, about as deep as his thumbnail, and then covered it with dirt. He watered the seed gently and set it in the warm sunshine on the windowsill. A week went by. Eric watered the seed and sat patiently beside it for a while every day, wondering what would grow. The next day, when Eric peeked into the milk carton, his face beamed brighter than a summer squash. It grew, he shouted, dancing a jig. Come and see! Eric's mother and father came running. Eric showed them the blade of green poking through the black dirt. His father said, well, very good, son, but what is it? Eric studied the sprig. Still he didn't know, so he watered it carefully again and waited some more. During the next few days, the tiny plant pushed up. The stem grew long with broad leaves. One morning, a bit of red showed at the bottom of one of the stems. Eric laughed when he saw the red. Now I know what it is. It's a radish. He uncovered just enough of the stem to see the round red bulb forming at the root. Eric was pleased. In the days that followed, he happily tended his radish. The radish grew bigger and fatter and greener and redder. Okay, so give me a thumbs up if you guys know what a radish is. And I know there's a delay on this. So give me a thumbs up if you know what a radish is. I am not a fan of radishes. I think I ate too many when I was a kid. I really liked them when I was a kid, and I think I ate too many of them. One day, to his delight, a white flower bloomed at the top of the stem, and then two more. But after a week, the flowers went away, and in 2 more weeks, the radish plant began to droop and turn brown. It's dying, cried Eric. No, his mother said, it's turning to seed. She pointed out 3 small pods that looked like tiny little green beans, which had grown in place of the flowers. So we can see, oh, wrong way. There we go. So we had the flowers, and now we've got the tiny little seed pods growing. Okay, that's important. I want you guys to remember that. Seed, Eric opened up one of the pods. 4 tiny brown seeds, like the one he had found at the store, rolled into his hand. He remembered Grandfather saying that all plants bore seeds after they bloomed. Some seeds grew in the flower, some in the fruit, and some in pods. Seeds, he said, as he hurried to the kitchen to find more milk cartons. He planted the new seeds and set them on the windowsill as he had done before with the first one. So you can see the seed pod with the tiny little seeds in it. Soon, 12 new green shoots came up. Then leafy plants burst out, and they made a nice bit of color on the windowsill. Almost before he knew it, the flowers had come and gone away again. The seed pods grew fat and brown. Eric's mother frowned. Already? She said. Eric ran to hunt more milk cartons. The park gardener filled them with dirt. Eric planted the latest seeds, watered them, and set them in the sun beside the others. Let's see. You guys ready? It's going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's going to run out of room on that windowsill. Before long, the bushy green tops were growing nearly everywhere. On the tables, on the floor, in the kitchen. When friends and neighbors dropped by, they would ask, "What are those?" And Mother would laugh and say, "That's just Eric's garden." And the radishes kept growing. They multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. It took nearly all of Eric's time planting them and watering them and moving them about in the sun. I don't know if having them on the stove is the best place. "Son, must you plant all those seeds?" Mother said. "Well, each one is important," Eric reminded her. "Grandfather says it helps feed the world." "Well, in that case, why don't you start feeding us? We like radishes and we're part of the world." That was a good idea. Eric pulled up some of the red bulbs. He carefully washed the dirt off of them and cut off their leafy green tops and a tiny bit of the rootstock. At the dinner table that night, he watched anxiously as Father bit into one of the radishes. Father smiled. "This is the best radish I have ever eaten." Eric felt very proud. He pulled up radishes for every meal after that, even for breakfast. I don't know about eating radishes for breakfast. I like fruit, maybe an apple or an orange. I don't know about radishes. After a time, though, nobody seemed to like radishes anymore. Father said, "No thanks," when the radish bowl came around. Some of the neighbors pretended they weren't at home when Eric came to the door. Eric sighed. He understood. He was tired of eating radishes, too. But what was he going to do with them? They were growing in the bedrooms, in the hall, in the bathroom, and on the outside stairs. They grew in the windows, on the kitchen table, and on top of the television set. One day, a radish was either growing in Father's favorite chair. He almost sat on it and came up with a roar. Not looking very happy. Father's patience was gone. "The city is no place for a garden," he roared. "Out it goes, every last bit." Eric sat on the wide front stoop in front of his apartment building, his chin in his hands. He could see that things had gotten quite out of hand. Did you ever have a time like that where things just kept getting bigger and bigger and more out of control and you're just, I don't know what to do? The living room looked like a jungle. Everyone was unhappy. Even the gardeners at the park had acted grumpy when Eric asked for more dirt that morning. It seemed like the city was no place for a garden, at least for a few things that grew as fast as radishes. But what could he do with them? He couldn't just throw them away. What if Grandfather heard? He thought and he thought, and then it came to him. Eric ran upstairs and pulled up all his radishes. He washed them and tied them into little bundles. When his mother went to the supermarket that afternoon, he helped carry a big box with all the radishes in them. Eric asked the store manager, Mr. Green, "Would you like to buy some nice fresh radishes?" Mr. Green looked at all the radishes. He was very pleased, and he bought them all. He gave Eric 2 shiny quarters, too. That night, Mother teased Father. "Well, things could have been worse. It could have been watermelons." Father laughed in his old way, and then he asked Eric, "Well, what are you going to do with your money?" "Oh," Eric said, "I've already spent it." Opening his hand, he showed them a small envelope, and on the front was a picture of a nice, fat, green watermelon. I don't know if he had that many problems with radishes. he may have some problems with a watermelon growing in an apartment. All right, so read a story about it. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to plant a seed, okay? So even if you're living in a place that doesn't have a yard, all you need is a cup. I got some dirt here, some soil. Now, as a scientist, we do call it soil. We don't call it dirt, okay? And now you do not have to go out and buy seeds. I happen to have some green bean seeds here, okay? Because I'm always planting my garden. I got these like back in February, ready to plant my garden. Because I said at the beginning, this is the time of year where you want to get in and play with dirt and get dirty and start watching things grow, and the birds are chirping and they're building their nests. Oh, just perfect time of year, okay? Now, even if you can't get out to get seeds, that's okay, because probably you do have some beans in your pantry, okay? These are just basic old pinto beans bought at the store, right? You can see it's just a store package of pinto beans, okay? And that works just fine. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to move this down so you guys can see, okay? Now, I'm going to put some soil in here. If you don't happen to have a fancy trowel like this one, that's okay. Get your hands dirty, right? I just got this soil from my garden. You can see it has some compost in it. It's got some plant roots in it. Now, we don't want rocks. Oh, like there's a rock right there. Okay, I'm going to put that up there. We don't want rocks, okay? And I just grabbed an old cup. Ice cream came in this. It's plastic, it's recyclable, reusable. As we know, Girl Scouts use resources wisely. Thumbs up for that one, right? So I just had this one. All right, let's get my other soil out of the way here. Now, sorry, I kicked the table. It was not having an earthquake. It was just me kicking the table. Now we want to gently pat it down. Not too deep. Ooh, I got a clump of dirt there. No clumps, no rocks, okay? Now, you don't even have to have potting soil. You can just go outside and get some soil from, like Eric did, from the park, okay? Now, who remembers how deep Eric planted the seed? Type it in for me if you remember how deep Eric planted the seed. All right. Maybe some people weren't paying attention. I know a few people came in late, so maybe they didn't see that first part. As deep as his thumbnail, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thumb like this, and I got a little hole in there, okay? And I'm going to take one of my beans, and actually what I'm going to do is I like to put 2 in one hole, okay? And then I'm just going to gently cover it up. And then I'm going to give it a baby pat. I don't want to push it down. I want that seed to be able to grow. Okay. Now, I put 2 in one in case one doesn't grow. If both of them grow, probably in about a week or so, maybe in about 5 days, I'll see a little sprout. Okay. And then when they get, maybe about this tall, one's probably going to be bigger or stronger looking than the other. So I'm going to pull the smaller one. Okay. And then, of course, we give it some water. About that much is good. And that water, I like using the clear. I'm going to move you up here now. I like using the clear because we can see that water going down into the side, okay? You don't want to put too much water because we don't want it to drown and get soggy, because plants don't grow if they're soggy. All they'll do is just rot out, okay? But we can see that. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my windowsill in my front kitchen. Nice southern exposure, lots of morning sun, okay? I poured the water a little too hard and my seed came uncovered, so that's why I'm messing with it. All right. And there we go. I can start my garden inside. Now, if you happen to be living in a place like some of my friends in El Paso, where they're not even allowed to go outside, or they can't, I shouldn't say that. I should say El Paso, you can't go out in the parks, so maybe there's no place to go dig up any soil. I have friends that live in Virginia. They're not even allowed to go outside. I've got a solution for that. You actually don't need soil to grow a plant. I want to show you here. Oh, notice? Oh, Girl Scout logo right here. Girl Scout trefoil, big shout out to my friend Vera who made this for me. She glass etched this for me. It did have a bamboo plant in it. However, my cat ate the bamboo plant. So I decided to repurpose it. Anybody know what one of these is? I have an idea. I'm going to pick it up with all the... We don't normally see this coming in with all the roots. That's right. It's an onion. Okay. Now, like I said, you don't have to have... Get in there, roots. You don't have to have soil to grow it. Okay. This didn't even come from a seed. Onion. I love cooking with onions. My husband does not like onions. I love onions. Okay. So, usually you cut the bottom off here, right? That's the root end. If I let this thing sprout, this would come up here. And then we'd have a flower and a plant. Okay, this is the part that we eat. This is called the bulb. And when you cut off the bottom, and I'm going to hold this up really close, you can see these little bumps here. Those are the start of some roots. Okay, so all I did with this onion right here, okay, is when I cut it off, I just took the bottom and I stuck it on top of here in some water. And this is about 3 weeks worth of growing. Okay. Now I want to show you those really long roots. And what I can do is I can separate, all one of these is going to be its own onion. All this came from one onion bottom. So what I can do is I can very gently pull off my onion. Okay, that one did not go so well. I should have used a knife and cut it. Okay, and then I can put this in its own water and it'll grow to a nice big onion. Okay, same thing with all of these with the roots. All right, now I want to show you something a little different here, because maybe you don't like onions either. Okay, anybody know what this is? Yeah, celery. Okay, so what I did was the very bottom of the celery stalk, the part that you don't eat, and this one's been going probably about 4 weeks or so. I cut that off and I put it in a little tub of water. Now you can see here, all this on the outside doesn't mean I don't wash this. We have very hard water here where I live, and there's a lot of calcium, so that's hard water on there. Doesn't hurt the plant at all. I wash it out. Make sure it has fresh water. You don't want it getting green and slimy and all that, right? But I wanted to show you how these roots, let's see if I can get this up close here. So you can see how all these roots are very tiny and floaty, right? Kind of looks like, oh, I don't know what. All right. Kind of like a sea creature or something under there. Those are the roots, and those are very different than these roots. Okay, but you can see my celery stalks growing. Now, I can put this in some dirt or some soil, okay, and I can transplant it and then use this cup for another one. So there are tons of things that you can grow without even having any soil. And you can have just a recyclable cup, doesn't have to be clear, okay? You can use old dishes, or maybe you have a great friend who helps you out and makes you some really cool plant stuff, okay? But anything, you have an orange, you have a lemon, you have a tomato. You can take those seeds, okay? Now, if the seeds are really small, what you want to do is take some wet paper towels and put them on a plate and put the seeds on there and keep your paper towel wet. And then once they start to grow, then you can plant them in something like this, okay? Otherwise, carrots, you can grow carrots like this. There's tons of stuff that you don't even need any dirt for, okay? So I bet you, when whoever's cooking, if you can ask them, what are we having for dinner? Now, I'm not saying go out and cut the bottom off of a fresh stalk of celery right now, okay? But instead of throwing it out or putting it in the composter, see what you can grab and start growing from your own. And you could even, now while this does have dirt in it, this is just a takeout container, okay? I can fill this with soil. I don't even know where this one came from. Applebee's or something like that, had a salad in it. Okay, I can fill this with soil. I can put a bunch of plants in here, okay? Or I can fill this with water and put some rocks on the bottom, and I can grow a bunch of onions, right? So tons of stuff. Remember, Girl Scouts use resources wisely. We recycle everything. Girl Scouts are like the queen bee of repurposing things, okay? It may have been used for something, but we'll find a better use for it when we recycle it, all right? Now, if you have any questions, or if you have started that, in a couple days, show me what you planted. Post some pictures to our Facebook page, or you can email me at info@GSDSW, so info at Girl Scouts of the Desert Southwest. And if there's any more programs that you want to see, we would be happy. No guarantees that we can do them all, but we would be happy to let you know like what's coming up. We've got a bunch of programs. Next week we're even have ones done in Spanish, which is great. Okay, I can say taco and burrito, and that's about it. So I'm going to be watching those, maybe beef up on my Spanish a little bit. All right, so stay safe. At least open up a window and get some fresh air into your body. That's the best thing for you. Fresh air and sunshine, man. Makes you feel really good. Up here as well as in here. All right. So everybody, you guys take care. Stay green.